Simon's first love is back. Not only did he let her stay at our place, but he also gave her his own shirt to wear as pajamas. As he gently blow-dried her hair, it hit me that he isn't distant and cold with everyone. I was supposed to be on a business trip. Knowing Simon had an event today, I came back early. Didn't tell him. Simon's stomach isn't great. He has ulcers and it's been pretty bad lately. If he couldn't skip the event, I'd usually come home to prepare some herbal medicine for him. I planned on surprising him, but ended up being surprised myself. I opened the door with my key, and the lights were on. Simon was already back. I called out, but no one answered. Just the sound of a hair dryer coming from the bathroom. I followed the sound, and the scene I saw froze me in my tracks. Simon wasn't alone. There was a woman I didn't know in the bathroom with him. She had bare legs, wearing only an oversized white shirt. Her wet, curly hair was loose, and Simon was in light grey pajamas standing behind her, one hand holding the hair dryer, the other lifting her hair. In that pose, he almost had her wrapped in his arms. Through the half-body mirror, I saw a slight smile on Simon's face. His lips were curved, his eyes gentle. Yes, gentle. I actually saw the word gentle on Simon's face. It was blinding. Simon and I have been together for 5 years now, from meeting to marriage. He's a cool guy, distant with others, indifferent to me, as if nothing really stirs strong emotions in him. He would smile, but it never reached his eyes. I didn't pay much attention to it. Everyone's got a different personality, and since I chose him, I accepted his pros and cons. At least he treated me differently than others. But now, it seems I too am just one of the others. Leaning against the doorway, my mind was a mess, but I calmed myself quickly. I knocked on the open door. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. The pink bubble moment popped instantly, and both of them finally noticed me. The woman jumped, startled, and let out a scream. Simon also turned around in surprise. Instinctively, he shielded the woman behind him. It was a small move, probably unconscious. He frowned at me. Why are you back early? I raised my eyebrows, arms crossed. Why? Am I interrupting something fun? You two already hit the sheets. Or is that still on the agenda? Simon's face dropped immediately. Cindy, what are you talking about? I slammed my suitcase down. Why don't you look at what you're doing? Just you two, alone in the bathroom, playing games, huh? Cindy, the woman behind Simon spoke up suddenly. Cindy, you've got it all wrong. There's nothing dirty between Simon and me, we're just friends. She looked so virtuous, as if I was insulting her. I tilted my head at her. If you're gonna say shameless things like that, at least get your chest off my husband's back first. Then I turned to Simon. Soft. Feels good. Embarrassment washed over her, and she quickly let go of Simon. Her voice quivered. How can you say such things? I chuckled. What things? Vulgar or low class? You won't say it, but you're doing it. You? She was livid, ready to step forward, but Simon held her back. Just stop it, both of you. Simon, are you just gonna let her slander me? The woman whined. I scoffed. What? Do you want him to yell or hit me? That wouldn't clear things up any better since I'm still his wife, for now. Or maybe you guys want to be brave and admit your true love. I'm a sucker for helping out true love. Enough. Simon grabbed my hand, pulling me out. We need to talk. I didn't resist, just glanced back at her with a smile. Make yourself at home. Simon pulled me into the bedroom. He slammed the door shut. For once, the typically composed Simon seemed a bit out of control. I glanced at the bed. It was neat, not a wrinkle in sight. I clicked my tongue in disappointment. Looks like you didn't have time. I came back too soon. Shut up. Simon's eyes were burning. Do you have to be so nasty? You weren't like this before. I laughed lightly, introducing you to the real Cindy. Surprised. Simon took a deep breath. I don't want to fight. We can talk later. She's a college friend. Just came back from overseas. Has no place to stay. So I let her crash here for the night. Cindy, stop being unreasonable. I stared at Simon. That's what you wanted to say. Simon answered with silence. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. I came in with him because I had hope. Hoped he'd give me a reasonable explanation in my sharp attitude moment. Obviously, that was wishful thinking. Got it. Staying over, right? Go ahead. Make yourselves at home. I headed for the door. Simon grabbed me. Where are you going? I stared at him in disbelief. Simon's grip on my hand tightened. It hurt. Cindy, what's wrong with you? I threw his hand off. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Do you even know what you're doing? Simon, don't disgust me. I opened the door and left. The woman had changed out of the shirt, and was in a long dress now. With red eyes, she forced a smile at Simon. Simon, I should go. I don't want to cause you any trouble. Then she turned to me. Cindy, you really misunderstood. Here's Simon's shirt back. She handed me the shirt, but I backed up just as it left her hands, letting it fall to the ground. Trash belongs in the trash can, not in my hands. Simon looked up sharply, his eyes locked on me, his face unreadable. Suddenly, he spoke. No need to leave, just stay here. Her eyes lit up. She hesitated and said, this isn't right, you and Cindy. Simon cut her off. Don't worry about it. If I tell you to stay, you stay. Where else would you go? Their complete disregard for everything disgusted me. I didn't want to say a single word more. I picked up my suitcase from the floor and stormed out. As I hurried down the stairs, the cold breeze made me shiver. Suddenly, waves of nausea hit me. Sadness, anger, frustration. I couldn't sort out my feelings. I just felt utterly exhausted. My facade of calmness totally shattered. It was absurd. I never thought Simon would cheat. He was always so composed and self-controlled. For years, he kept his distance, even though many tried to get close to him. I used to think if he ever had a change of heart, he'd at least break up with me first, not two-time like this. It wasn't about love, just about his character. But reality slapped me hard in the face. Simon, what the hell are you doing? And who is that woman? I went back to the old house with this question on my mind. I remembered there was a photo album in the storage room. It was a birthday gift someone gave Simon during college. The album was full of pictures of Simon, just him or him with others. It was a thoughtful gift. I asked who gave it to him. He said a college classmate. A girl, right? Because guys don't usually do this detailed stuff. Simon just nodded. I wanted to ask if she liked him, but Simon changed the subject. Back then, I didn't think much of it. His reaction was so indifferent it didn't make me curious. The old house wasn't far, just a 20-minute drive. Compared to our new home, I liked it here better. Simon and I lived here for 2.5 years before we moved after we got married. I would come here when I was feeling down. It helped me relax. But walking in today felt different. I soon found the album in the storage room. Simon looked so youthful, though always serious, yet full of life. Most of the photos seemed like candids, all profile shots. There weren't many front-facing ones. In one, Simon wore a graduation gown. That was his graduation photo. He had pictures with different people, girls and guys. I slowly looked through each one. Then, suddenly, I stopped. One photo was different from the rest. They were standing close, arms touching. The guy was smiling with a slight tilt towards the left. The girl smiled brightly, lightly resting her head on his shoulder. Though her face had changed a bit over time, I recognized her immediately. It was her. On the back of the photo were the names: Simon, Karina. Between the names was a little heart drawn. I was woken up by the renovation noise from above. I didn't sleep well all night, felt groggy. It took me a while to realize I was at the old house. It was too late last night to go elsewhere, so I crashed on the couch. Someone was sitting not far from me, watching intently. It was Simon, and I wasn't surprised he was here. I remembered a fight once where I had stormed off, and he found me here within an hour. I asked how he knew I was there. Simon said, where else would you go? He knew I had nowhere else to turn to because I was an orphan. Simon gave me a home. Someone once asked why he didn't sell the old house. He replied, keep it. Someone might need a place to hide away when unhappy. My feelings for Simon were complicated. Love and gratitude mixed together. I thought we'd coast through life together just fine. I sighed and headed to the bathroom to freshen up. Simon had gotten breakfast, and I didn't hold back. After eating, I asked him, her name is Karina, your ex-girlfriend? The album was right there. No one was playing dumb. Simon said, yes. I looked up at him. Simon, what are you doing? Bringing your ex home, letting her wear your shirt, blow-drying her hair. What are you doing? A live reenactment of love left unfinished. Believe it or not, nothing happened between us. I shook my head. I don't believe you. Simon looked at me with a stern face. After a while, he rubbed his temples and put 2 receipts on the table in front of me. She slept at home, and I stayed at a hotel last night. That's proof. If you need, I can get the surveillance tapes. Nothing happened between us, that's a fact. I didn't look at the papers. If Simon dared to show them, they wouldn't be fake. But still, she stayed at your place, and you stayed at a hotel. Simon, I don't get your logic. She doesn't like staying in hotels, and it's not safe for a girl to stay alone there. She told you that, or you just figured it out yourself. Simon scolded, talk properly. No sarcasm. Things piled up until I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to talk properly, but did you do that with me? Doesn't like hotels. Not safe for a girl to stay there. Whenever I went on business trips, I stayed in hotels, and you never mentioned a thing about my safety. Why does Karina get special treatment? Is she more special to you? Simon seemed triggered, jumped up quickly. I already stayed in a hotel, and told you nothing happened. What do you want? I felt each word like a punch to the gut. Nearly fainting, clutching the table, I screamed, divorce. I want a divorce. Simon's face turned. Shut up, Cindy. Take back that word. He practically growled between clenched teeth. I met his gaze, unyielding. Simon closed his eyes, fists clenched tight. When he reopened them, the wildness was gone. Want a divorce? Not happening, he said. And that's how we launched into a cold war. I stayed at the old house. I didn't reach out to him, and he didn't seek me out. His thoughts were a mystery to me. I was waiting to calm down, to cool off enough to handle this as efficiently as possible. One day, I got a call from his assistant. Did you have a fight with Simon? The girl was someone I knew from school, sharp and capable. She'd struggled to find work back then, so I recommended her to Simon. She'd done well under his guidance and kept in touch, grateful. But this was the first time she brought up Simon. What's up? I asked. After a pause, she said, Simon has a meeting tonight, and he's had quite a bit to drink. I was going to call you, but some stranger picked him up, driving his car. I went silent for a moment and then sent over Karina's photo. Is this the person? Yeah, the girl sounded worried. You okay? I chuckled. I'm good. Better than ever. Looks like it's time to put the divorce on the agenda. The longer I wait, the more embarrassing it gets. I'm a door. So the next morning, I got a lawyer to draft up a divorce agreement. Simon and I have kept our finances separate, so the agreement was just a formality. When I walked into the office, Simon froze for a moment, but quickly put on a blank face. This is the office. We'll talk at home if there's anything, he said. Home was definitely in the cards, but not quite yet. I laid the divorce papers in front of him. Sign it, and we can hit the registry while it's still early. Simon stared at the papers for a long time. This why you're here? The obvious answer didn't deserve a response, so I said nothing. Simon just tore up the papers. Did I ever say divorce was an option? I acted like I didn't hear, pulled out another copy. Simon tore that up too. I kept handing them over, and he kept ripping them up, until we hit number 12. His expression turned stormy. Are you sure about this? I scoffed. If I wasn't, you think I'd be messing around like this? He slapped the papers on the table and signed his name heavily. We drove separately to the registry office, arriving one after the other. Luck was on our side. The place wasn't too crowded, and it was soon our turn. Are you sure about this? The staff asked us. I nodded. Yes. Simon's gaze landed on me. And you? Are you sure? He pressed. As soon as our eyes met, he looked away. Yes, I'm sure, he said frostily. All right. I'll log your details, and you can collect the divorce certificate in a month. As the staff keyed in our info, I slowly let out the breath I'd been holding. That's when Simon said, wait, what now? The staff sounded puzzled. Cindy, are you really sure you want this? Simon asked. Absolutely, I replied. Simon shot up from his seat, making it tumble over with a thud. Cindy, you're ruthless. With that, he turned on his heel and stormed off. What happened? The staff inquired. I was taken aback, but hurried to catch up with him. Simon, you stop right there. He acted like he didn't hear me, kept moving. I jogged to grab his arm. What do you mean by this? Simon was tense all over. I'll say it one last time, Cindy. I can't divorce you. That lit my fuse. What does that mean, huh? Can't divorce? You think this is a joke? Simon took a deep breath. Cindy, how long will you keep this up? Because of a groundless issue, you left home and now demand a divorce. Is this amusing to you? I'm exhausted by all this. I quietly studied Simon. This isn't drama, Simon. I'm serious about divorce. Why? Simon was clueless. Is it because of Karina? There's nothing between us, nothing at all. Why don't you believe me? How can I trust you? Where's Karina living right now? Did you set her up? Does she lack transportation? So you lent her a car. Why was she the one to pick you up when you were drunk? Where did you go afterward? What happened? I laughed derisively, shaking my head. Actually, I don't even need to know all that. Just that night. What if I hadn't come back? You think nothing would have happened? Yes, nothing. Simon was growing frustrated. My hotel stay was pre-planned. If you doubt it, verify. I don't buy it. That was my refrain. Simon, I can't trust you now. No matter what you say or show me, it won't change anything. I'm done believing you. Disbelief is all there is. I'm someone who excels at cutting ties, which is why I've thrived so far. Life's been tough on me, so I've learned to protect myself. I won't let anything hold me back, because no one ever pulls me forward. I'm an orphan. Before I was born, I was called a posthumous child. My mom found out she was pregnant after my dad died in a car crash. She didn't want to have me, understandably, but my grandparents begged her. Just give birth. They promised to take care of me. They handed all of my father's inheritance and the insurance payout from the accident over to my mom. Bought me with that money. So she had me. Once she'd recovered, she took the money and left. My grandparents raised me. Towards my mom, I felt nothing. No love, no hate, no yearning. Those emotions were pointless, just painful, so I let them go. Then my grandparents passed, one after the other. I was in middle school, and suddenly all alone, just this kid without parents. Sad, hopeless, begging for something familiar. In a month, I processed it all, moved on. Later, someone offered 10 grand for my grandparents' place. I agreed. Everyone called me a fool. They said it was clearly a losing deal, and thought they could take advantage of me, because I had no family backing. But I knew deep down, that I couldn't hold on to that house forever. If you can't hold on to something, you have to let it go. Plus, I needed the money. I had to go to school and simply live. So, I sold the house and left the place where I grew up. Now, there's Simon. He didn't explain things to me right away, and by the time he did, I couldn't believe him anymore. I don't want to be paranoid, and I won't let myself get consumed like that. Divorce sounds harsh, but it's necessary. But no way. The more determined I was about getting a divorce, the more determined Simon was not to give in. I couldn't understand that about him. With negotiations going nowhere, I decided to take it to court and file for divorce. But what I didn't expect was that the very next day, Simon hit me with financial penalties. He wanted to terminate our company's partnership. I met Simon through the company. Back then, I had just graduated from college, and was starting a business with some college friends. We were young and ambitious, thinking we could conquer anything. But reality was harsher than we imagined. We had no funding, no connections. No one was willing to invest in us, or even listen to our pitch. We were just like so many others trying to start a business with nothing but passion. We almost reached the point of giving up and looking for regular jobs when a company reached out to us. They expressed interest in talking. We felt like we had grabbed a lifeline, but it turned out to be just a straw. The person in charge said to me, "Sleep with me for a year, and I'll give you everything you want." Without hesitation, I refused. They wouldn't let me go, though. In the chaos, I smashed a bottle on his head. I got arrested. The guy threatened to have me locked up for good. I was ready for the worst. That's when Simon came into the picture, like a rescuer. He swiftly handled the situation, bailed me out, and even sent someone to discuss a business deal with our company. At first, I thought he must have had some ulterior motive, so I started taking off my clothes in front of him, but he just put each piece back on me. "You don't have to do this," he said. When I asked him why he was helping me, he said, "Think of it as me feeling sorry for you." I gladly accepted his pity. There was nothing to be resistant about, because, honestly, I was in a pretty pitiful state. With Simon's support, our company took off, but now, he wanted to use that history against me, and I had to say, he totally had me cornered. I went to Simon's company and asked him, "What do you want?" Simon looked up at me and said, "Withdraw the divorce filing." We had a stare down. He made his stance clear with his calm demeanor. I chuckled. "Is that it? Sure, I'll withdraw it right away. Any other issues?" My brisk response didn't seem to satisfy Simon. He frowned deeply. After a moment, he asked, "When will you move back? Is that part of the deal too?" Simon pressed his lips into a straight line. "Got it. I'll move back today. Are we good?" Simon flung his pen onto the desk. "Get out." "Yes, sir." The smile I kept on my face vanished as soon as I got in the car. I hated being at someone else's mercy, Simon included. I made a call. "Is everyone at the company?" "Wait for me. We're having a meeting." The meeting went on well past midnight, but it didn't quite go as I wanted. I suggested finding a new partner. The market is huge. It's not just Simon. He can stop the partnership anytime, and so can we. But they disagreed. They were too comfortable, seeking stability over change. Simon offered generous terms. No matter how we ended the partnership with Simon, we'd take a hit. Their thinking was, as long as we could still work with Simon, he was the first choice. They even told me, "It's a small thing. Why get bogged down? What man doesn't have women outside, especially Simon? As long as he hasn't crossed any major lines, what's unforgivable?" I was appalled by their words. And there it was. Different paths mean we don't walk together. It was time for me to make my exit. Just needed time to ensure I didn't lose money during the departure. So, I moved back in. When I got back, Simon was still up, sitting in the living room with his laptop. He took off his glasses when he saw me. "We need to talk," he said. I cut him off right there. "I'm tired, maybe later." Simon's expression darkened. I acted like I didn't notice, and went straight to the guest room. No clue where Karina slept that night, or what she touched. Everything in the house made me uneasy. In the end, I settled for the couch with a bed sheet. But when I woke up, I found myself in bed. My mood instantly soured. Simon was making eggs in the kitchen. I shot at him. Who told you to move me? Simon paused, took a deep breath, and said, the sheets are all changed clean. I gritted my teeth. Doesn't matter. The air in this house makes me sick. Cindy, Simon sternly said, you're going too far. I smirked coldly at him. Am I? Imagine me in another man's shirt, thighs showing, all sexy, nestled against him while he dries my hair. Then maybe you'd get it. You wouldn't dare. Simon's eyes flared. I shook my head indifferently. It's not about daring. I simply wouldn't. I have boundaries. Do you? Disgusting. Our argument ended poorly. He dumped the breakfast into the trash and headed back to his room, face like ice. I didn't hold back either, slamming the door behind me loudly. And so, another Cold War began. I was super busy, gone early and back late. Simon was busy too. 4 days we didn't even see each other. During this time, I met with some people to discuss offloading my shares. If I were to sell them, the folks in the company should be the first pick. But they were clear in where they stood, not on my side. To maximize my interests, I had to look elsewhere. The only concession I was willing to make was to divide the shares so no one new would gain decision power in the company. What they choose to do with those shares afterward, not my problem. The arrangements came together smoothly. With money flowing in, I completely stepped out of the company. They were furious, storming after me, faces flushed with anger, looking like they were ready to cut ties. It wasn't pretty. I gave them options, but they didn't take them. Honestly, it's not so bad now. Simon and I were bound to have a falling out eventually, and this way they won't get caught in the crossfire. Besides, they thought about kicking me out anyway. Their eyes flickered. You're talking nonsense. When did we ever think that? I felt uninterested. It's because you're afraid of Simon. Otherwise, who remembers anyone when the dust settles and the rabbit's gone? The company matters were settled. Now, it was time to settle my scores with Simon. But what surprised me was Karina reaching out to me before I could get to Simon. She wanted to have a chat, and I agreed. As soon as we sat down, she hit me with, why haven't you divorced him yet? How long are you planning to hang on to Simon? It made me chuckle. Who are you to tell me this? His lover. Did Simon agree? Because he always told me there's nothing between you two. Get it? You don't even qualify to be a mistress. I sized her up. Besides, it's not that I don't want a divorce. Simon's the one refusing it. Is that all you've got? Karina's eyes turned red. You're lying. There's no way Simon doesn't want a divorce. He doesn't even like you. If it wasn't for... She trailed off. I looked at her, puzzled. If not for what? Her eyes flickered as a smug smile appeared. Haven't you ever wondered? You and Simon are worlds apart. Why did he suddenly show up? And why did he start helping you out of nowhere? Cindy, you think this is all just a coincidence? You're too naive. What do you mean? I asked her. Karina raised her eyebrows. You wanna know? Then beg me. I quietly looked at her, then let out a chuckle. Hold it in then. I don't want to hear it. I got up to leave, but Karina panicked. Cindy, stop right there. I didn't break my stride. Cindy, I opened the door, ready to walk out. Hold on. Karina raised her voice. Come back. I've got something to show you. I smirked and calmly sat back down. Karina's earlier arrogance was gone. Good. That's the right attitude for a chat. She didn't waste time, just coldly took a photograph from her purse. She pushed it in front of me. This is Simon with his adopted mother. I glanced at it casually. In the photo, Simon looked about 5 or 6 years old, very skinny and small. If Karina hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have recognized him. But when I saw the woman, I was stunned. A long-forgotten memory flashed in my mind. I had seen this woman before. Back home, in my grandma's overstuffed dresser, there was an old red booklet at the bottom. It said marriage certificate on it. In it was a photo with 2 people. One was my father, who died young, and the other was my mother, who had run away. I didn't know much about Simon's family. I just knew both his parents had passed away, and he had no siblings or extended relatives. Like me, he was an orphan. The only difference was he had money and I didn't. Simon would visit his parents' graves from time to time. I once asked to go with him, but he refused, just saying, it's not necessary. That ended my thought of bringing him home to meet my grandparents. Sometimes I wondered if the way we interacted was right. I had no answer, no experience with these things, and no elders to guide me. So I told myself, just let it be. I carried that attitude through 5 years with Simon. And now, Karina was telling me those years were a joke. Karina said Simon was a true orphan, the kind who grew up in an orphanage. But he got lucky. At age 6, a wealthy couple adopted him. They had no children and treated him as their own. His adoptive mother viewed him no differently than if he were her own child. His adoptive father died from illness when Simon was 12. 6 years ago, his adoptive mother got cancer, pancreatic cancer, and died after 6 months. Before she died, she told Simon that she had a daughter somewhere. She felt sorry for that daughter and hoped Simon would find her and take care of her. Can you guess who that daughter is? Karina watched me with a twisted smirk. At that time, Simon and I were madly in love. He suddenly broke up with me, saying he wanted to fulfill his mother's dying wish. But why? He was supposed to be my boyfriend. So why did he just toss me aside? He wanted to fulfill his mom's wish. But what about me? Cindy, look how lucky you are. Your mom cared about you until the end, having Simon watch over you. But what about me? Why do your family affairs have to sacrifice our love? I took the photo from Karina. As I was leaving, she stopped me. Cindy, you're gonna divorce Simon, right? Yeah, I said, but are you sure you want someone who can toss you aside on a whim? Simon, we need to talk. I arranged to meet Simon at home. He was half an hour late. He loosened his tie and sat down. What do you want to talk about? Where to start? Whatever, I'll just get straight to it. I put the photo in front of him. So your adoptive mom is my biological mother. Simon froze, his hand pausing on his cufflinks. Who gave you this? I shook my head. That part's irrelevant. Let's talk about something that matters. Karina. Simon slumped on the couch. I should have guessed. Only she's seen this photo. So, anything you want to tell me? Silence. A long, heavy silence. Just when I thought Simon would remain silent forever, he began to speak. From his lips, I heard a more detailed version of the past. My adoptive mom is a really incredible woman. She started her own cosmetics brand all by herself. Later, she met my adoptive dad and they got together. My adoptive dad couldn't have kids of his own, so my mom suggested adopting from an orphanage. That's how they ended up adopting me. Simon said, the luckiest thing in my life was meeting them and becoming their child. But the good times didn't last. My adoptive dad passed away, and later my mom got cancer. He glanced at me while speaking, and that's when I first heard about you. Cindy, I need you to understand. She always thought about you. She never forgot you. The way she treated me well was a way to make it up for you. Everything she owed you, she tried to give to me. She loved you. Her biggest wish before she died was for you to be okay, and to forgive her. I'm sorry we kept it from you for so long. As I listened to Simon, I was waiting for my emotions to break down or explode. But they didn't. I was calm, more than ever before. My condolences, I said plainly. Simon looked at me, shocked. Don't you have anything else to say? I thought for a moment, then said, well, since we share the same mom, let's end this marriage on good terms and get divorced quickly. Cindy. Simon called my name, but didn't continue. After a pause, he said, are you still holding a grudge against her? She's gone now. Can't you forgive her for the sake of the deceased? I exhaled deeply. A grudge? Not really. If anything, it's just unfortunate. Cindy, shut up. I chuckled a bit. Fine, what do you want to hear? I've forgiven her. I love her to death. She's the best mother in the world, and I'll remember and thank her forever. Happy, if you need. I can even go say it at her grave. Now, can we talk about the divorce? Cindy, I know my name. You don't have to keep reminding me. Simon tried to contain his anger. I get that it's hard for you to accept right now. We can talk slowly once you're ready. I waved it off. No, let's talk, and quickly. What do you want? What do I need to do? I can even visit your mom's grave every year if you'll just divorce me. Just let me go. Every word with Simon, every second spent together was unbearable. It was like finding half a fly in your sandwich. Cindy, I won't divorce you. I promised my mom I'd take care of you. Great, now the other half of the fly went down too. Simon, the deceased deserve respect. I don't want to speak ill of your mother, but you're forcing me. Simon frowned, looking resistant. You say your adoptive mom was amazing and started her own cosmetics brand. But do you know where her money came from? Simon didn't know, but I did. It was my dad's blood money. Do you know how ruthless she was? My dad's compensation, all his earnings. She took it all without leaving a dime. When she left, she feared my grandparents would stop her, so she pretended to take me out for a walk. She abandoned me, left me behind the barn to buy herself time. It was winter. I almost died there. Impossible. Simon instinctively denied it. I continued, I don't hate her. Hating her would waste my energy. She's just a stranger to me. But you keep insisting she loved me, cared for me, felt sorry for me. But when I was with my grandparents working our way out of the mud to make a living, where was she? When my grandparents passed, and people threatened to sell me if I didn't sell the house, where was she? When I was bullied and almost went down fighting, where was she? In sophomore year, when all my money was stolen, leaving me with nothing for tuition or living expenses, where was she then? Why bother? Without emotions, she's just a stranger. With emotions, she should be in hell. Each of my words made Simon's face paler. I didn't know. We didn't know. Mom wanted to make it up to you, Cindy. She just didn't know how to face you. I scoffed. Poor thing. Living in comfort, yet my existence was the pebble in her shoe, grinding at her conscience. I must be terrible. That's not what I meant. Simon tried to explain, but he clearly wasn't good at it. The strong emotions made me uncomfortable, so I rubbed my temples. You people are something else. You feel guilty towards me, so you compensated Simon instead. Did I die? Shouldn't guilt towards me involve compensating me? She got cancer, feared dying in peace, so she dumped the responsibility on you, so she could leave without a care. As for you, you want to repay her, finish the task, so you married me. How wronged am I? I looked at Simon curiously. Why did you think the best compensation for me was marrying me? Do you think I can't find anyone else to marry? You might as well have given me more money back then, honestly. Simon, let's divorce. I came from her womb, with birth records and proof. Proving I'm her daughter is easy. If you still refuse, I'll have to go to court and fight for my inheritance. That day, I rambled on and on. Simon, after saying a few words in the beginning, listened quietly for the rest. We both knew there was no chance between us. Divorce was inevitable. I waited 3 days for Simon. He finally agreed. This time, he drafted the divorce papers. He gave me most of the property, company shares, and other stuff. I didn't look closely. I wasn't interested in any of it. My psychologist once said my biggest problem is having no desires. No desire for anything, not even money. It's easy to understand, considering I have no one behind or ahead of me. He asked, what do you want most? You need to find something to want. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have the will to live. I thought for a while and said, I want someone to love me. I was working hard, trying to be a better person, just so someone would love me. But Simon ruined it all. He ruined my 5 years. I hate him, but I can't bring myself to despise him. I can't let him leave such a deep mark in my heart. I have to remind myself that, at the very least, he once helped me. Whatever his motives were, he did save me from a crisis. What I need to do is let him go. You have to decisively let go of the things that drag you down, and just move forward without looking back. Those who love you are ahead of you. Simon and I finalized our divorce, and a month later, we got the divorce certificate. I decided to leave this city. Karina left too. She said, it's so pointless. After all these years, I couldn't get over him, and it turns out it was all nothing. You tell me, did all these years go to waste? Right, I should apologize for meddling in your lives. Sorry. I neither forgave her nor hated her. She was just a passerby during my crappy years. She tripped me up, got me all dirty. I dusted myself off, stood up, and still have to keep moving forward. I'm not looking back. It wasn't until Cindy left the city that Simon began to truly understand her. To him, Cindy had once been just someone to repay a debt to. Marrying her, providing resources, giving her money, he thought that was enough. Cindy was nothing more than a vague symbol to him, thinner than paper. He didn't notice Cindy making medicine for him. He didn't notice Cindy trying to make him laugh. He didn't notice her anticipation, or her disappointment. He realized how gloomy it was to make Cindy live with someone as blind as himself for 5 years. It was 3 months after Cindy left that Simon found out she had always been seeing a therapist. The therapist refused to disclose any details, but he said, just being alive is tough for Cindy, but she's always tried so hard. She's the strongest patient I've ever met. From that day on, Simon began looking for Cindy. He wouldn't bother her. He just wanted to know if Cindy was safe. A year later, he finally found Cindy in a very small town, but she wasn't alone. She was holding the hand of a toddler. In that moment, Simon's heart almost stopped. He booked a flight that night and headed to that town. He saw Cindy. She was thinner and somehow softer. Cindy was surprised to see him. Long time no see. For the first time, Simon was at a loss for words. Long time no see. His gaze kept drifting to that child. Cindy, so clever, understood immediately. She chuckled. Don't get it wrong, it's not mine. Adopted, an orphan. Simon's heart soared then crashed down hard. Cindy was right in guessing he thought it was her child, born behind his back. How disappointing. It was also at that moment he realized he really wished for a child they had together. Simon suddenly felt the urge to cry. What did he even do? Can I come to visit you now and then? See the kid? Cindy shook her head. Better not. Otherwise, I'd have to move again. Quite troublesome. Simon felt even sadder. Suddenly he felt very alone. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to buy a house next to Cindy's and live there, but he knew he couldn't do that. He could only say goodbye to Cindy. Goodbye. Cindy smiled faintly. Take care, let's not meet again. Cindy still left. A week after Simon showed up, she and the kid were gone. She was letting Simon know through her actions. Don't look for her again. Don't disturb her. After hearing the news, Simon drank the whole night. His stomach ached, hurting so bad it brought tears. but he no longer had the one who brewed him medicine. He gave up on seeking Cindy again. He wished her happiness,